All right, here we are kicking it off with a Wolfpack interview about resilience redefined with the one and only Jason Oberuc. Yeah, or should I say, "Arr!" All right, man. Hey, you've been putting up with me for quite a while and have become a figurehead, a constant source of inspiration within our community. I think it's just about time we talk in this type of format, and I'm sure I'll walk away with some new insights about you, and you probably know too much about me already. But thanks for making the time to hang, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, here we go. Let's just talk about where it all began. Well, we've been hanging for a while. Like I said, you put up with me for quite a while. Let's go back, way back into time when you and I maybe first interacted, or how that whole process unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to feel like June of 2020, probably, whenever that first challenge was during the pandemic. But I just picked up the audit programs because I've told this story before. I was unloading a truck and I had earbud in, just listening to a podcast, and heard an ad for half off programs. And I was like hungover at work, working overnights, and I was in terrible shape, not happy. And I have kettlebells at home, so I was like, fuck it, $25, literally nothing to lose. And that one decision changed everything. I got obsessed with movement and trying to get healthy. I never cared about that before. Yeah, that was like the first time in my life I was ever doing any kind of mobility. Well, maybe a little bit when I was younger, but not to the extent that you had in those programs. And then I stumbled upon the On a Tribe, the Facebook group, and I was like, oh wow, there's like a whole big giant community of people who can like interact with you and Shane and some of the staff there and get questions answered and get support, and just stuck with it ever since, even through on its various changes. I mean, up until recently I was pretty on board, but yeah, it all started with being hungover, unloading a truck, and feeling like shit and wanted to change something.
Well, you know what? Some of the people watching, they might not know, but you're living the rock star lifestyle off and on here, right? What is it beyond what your day job is? What's your biggest lifelong passion project?
Yep, been a musician for nearly 20 years now, drummer in a death metal band, and we tour pretty often. I balance that touring, working full time, studying, various other hobbies and interests, being a family man, taking care of the dogs, taking care of my wife. So I juggle a lot of stuff, but that's my main driver for everything. And that was one of the first things I thought of, was like, if I were to get in shape and feel better and be healthier, one of the first things that's going to improve is my time on stage. Because right before the pandemic, we had played a show and I was so overexerted on stage that I puked up bile while I was playing. And I got off stage, I could barely breathe. And I was like, this is not sustainable. Like, there's no way. Like, I was picturing like 20 years down the road, just picturing, like, I don't even know if I would be doing it 20 years from now had I not invested in my health. So that first step, it ended up opening so many other points of view and perspectives. But the main thing for me was like, how can I make my art better? And so that's where the inspiration came from. And then, kind of like a butterfly effect, everything else got better along with it.
That's awesome, man. I think that that's one of the things that's really important is that, hey, it all starts with one step. That
Yep.
one step for you happens to be hearing a podcast advertisement for a $25 investment to get a
Sure.
lot more than what you thought. And so, you spoke to, and this is a big part of our past, was the time we shared aligned with the brand of On It, the community that I was lucky enough to help build there, and a lot of the fitness content that we use to facilitate the growth of that community, and sort of the primary topic of a lot of the conversations we had there, right? And how you said Shane or myself, the rest of the team were able to support you guys. And then obviously some of you stepped up to be leaders and support others. So I think that's a really important thing. But, you know, we went through that process for a while. If I remember correctly, I was very often trying to encourage you to slow the fuck down. We would do these 6 week challenges where you do, 6 days a week, 6 days a week for 6 weeks. You had a workout assignment that took about an hour. And Jason, being the rock star he is, would say, Coach, I'm going to do 3 programs at the
Sometimes
same
4.
time. Yeah, maybe 4. I was like, all right, Jason. Well, that sounds good. Would you think 2 would be okay? No, 3. 3 is the magic number. I guess 4 was a number, but I don't remember 4. I do remember 3, and that lasted for about a week before it was 2, and then there were some days off before the decision to go to 1 was
Yeah,
there was some receptivity to, with some double days mixed in.
sure.
Is that sound
Well,
pretty accurate?
yeah, that's pretty accurate. I mean, when I was doing 4, technically, so it was kettlebell, barbell, body weight, and then durability. So I was like, all right, we're gonna end with the restorative stuff, and that's how I justified it at the time. But like, yeah, dude, at the time, there was not even you could convince me that I wasn't, that was not in my best interest. I had a bunch of people around me telling me the exact same thing. I had my wife's friend was like asking her like, "Is he all right? Like, what's going on here? Because he's just doing this for like 4 hours a day." But at the time, I didn't know about like junk volume and like eventually it's diminishing returns and it's not even beneficial anyway. But
Mm.
at the time, I was so fucking just gung ho, like pedal to the metal, never stop, never slow down. And to anyone else watching this who might have the same tendencies, it's good to find the line. I'll say that. Because now I know I never want to go back to the line or beyond the line. I went way beyond the line.
Hopefully there was no puking bile as a result of your 4 days.
No, because by the time I worked up to 4, I was in great, my cardio was awesome. I could go all fucking day.
Well, man, this. I think this is one of the points in the story that I think is really important. Right?
Yeah.
Is that life is full of peaks and it's full of fucking valleys too. Sometimes those valleys are dark, and
Yeah.
so even when we're on our highest high, 4 days, and being able to sustain that. Even for a short period of time, be able to like modulate intensity, do so much volume that it would have crushed the original person who showed up, the hungover version of Jason. But there was a fall and a subsequent fight that was to come. So, you know, what was that all about, man? What happened? How did that play out? And what was that experience like waking up to a new reality?
Yeah. So we had just played a show in Portugal. This was April of 2023. The way I remember it is something just felt off for the entire trip. It was just a one-off show. We were only going there to play one show, so it was kind of like, all right, we can slow down and just enjoy being here and see the sights and whatnot. But that downtime really allowed me to feel that something was not right. And to be honest, something was not right in my body for a long time. I was masking symptoms for years leading up to that point. I mean, I was heavily abusing caffeine, like taking fat burner pills, which basically just have a bunch of nasty stuff in them that increase your heart rate, make you sweaty. And I was chasing those with energy drinks and coffee and more energy drinks and trying to drink as much water as I could. But like literally, so I'd do that during the day, get to the end of the day, be so wired that I'd have to take like Benadryl, melatonin, like everything to shut it down. And I was just in a cycle of doing that, masking the symptoms and gradually building up to more and more just crap that I was putting in my body to keep going. And then one day I was just like, this is not normal. No one else around me has to do this just to function. Cause like I would take nearly 1,000 milligrams of caffeine, if not more sometimes, and just be normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you go to Europe or you go on a trip and you don't necessarily have access to that amount of caffeine, your symptoms will really show. And when we, right before we went on stage, something in me was like, this might be the last time for a while. You might not get to do this again for a really long time, so make it count. And I absolutely played my heart out. It kind of took me back to that overexertion again, and I mean, it was still a killer show. I remember just about every second of it, but once we got off stage and the next day when the adrenaline finally wore off, even my bandmates were like, "What's wrong, dude? Like something's up." And then I was like, I don't know. I just don't feel right. Went home, went through like 3 airports to get home, and then I got really, really sick. And that just kind of happens anytime I travel. So I just thought nothing of it, but it wouldn't go away. And then about 2, 3 weeks later, I go to the doctor. And this guy, he's responsible for why I'm still alive because never seen him before. He was listening to my lungs. He's like, "You're breathing just fine." And then I described night sweats, drenching night sweats. Like I was like, I had to like line the bed with towels because I was complete. It was like waking up having gotten out of a bath or a shower or something. Like it was so bad. And he's like, he didn't say anything at the time, but later on he told me, he's like, you were just way more sick than would have been appropriate for just a common cold or some kind of virus you picked up on a plane. So took an x-ray and yeah, had a mass on my larynx and then turns out it was all in my abdomen, which made it stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And that's what was, eating at me for the longest time and preventing me from going, reaching goals, especially within fitness, and then like the brain fog and like I always just felt like there was something holding me back and I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was lymphoma. And that whole experience of like, boom, your life is like night and day different. Once you get that diagnosis, it's phone calls like every 5 minutes from, caseworkers trying to get you in to start treatment ASAP and figure out where to send you and how it's all going to work. When life changes at the blink of an eye like that, it's a surreal experience. It's hard to describe if you've never had something like that, but it just your whole world gets turned upside down. And yeah, it was just such a wild, wild time. And especially for my family too, like they're watching me try and navigate this. Everybody's helping out the best they can. Had to cancel all of our shows that we had scheduled, which was a real bummer, but we did get to make up one of them just this past month. So that was nice. Yeah, that it was by far way tougher than any kind of 4 a day workout.
I'd say so. I'd say so. I mean, it was like a 10 a day workout to survive, and
Yeah.
I'm sure, maybe not right when you got diagnosed, but when you started realizing that this was a championship length fight, a long fight.
Yeah.
Um, During that fight, did it change your mindset about what the meaning of strength or health was? And at
Yeah.
what point, do you remember any point in time where you're like, hey, fuck, I thought this was strength or this was health, and now I have a different perspective. Do you remember any particular time or an anchor of that, or just through the whole process?
I mean, they're probably about halfway through treatment when the cumulative effects of chemo are finally building up in your system, losing more hair, neuropathy in my feet and hands, and just nerve pain in general and bone pain. That was the fucking worst. That's the worst pain I've ever experienced. And yeah, it was like right at that halfway point. I was like, because at the beginning, I went to that first chemo and I was like, this ain't shit.
I
This
got
is
this.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just sit in a chair for, 4 hours, 5 hours sometimes, and then we go home and I carry on with the rest of my life. And then the very next morning I I puked in the toilet and I was like, "Ah, fuck. Here we
Yeah.
go. It's already going on." Granted, that was the only time I puked was that first day right after. I never did after that. But yeah, about that halfway point when it's like even the like I had chemo on Fridays and like Wednesday would roll around and I'd be like, fuck, we're almost here. Like we almost have to go back. And the worst part is that it was 2 hours away because I wanted to go to Mayo Clinic, which is in Rochester, which is South Minnesota, because the local clinic here was not great. And I wanted to go to someone who specialized only in my type of cancer. So it was worth the drive, but like that, just to make things worse, it's like 2 hours just to get there and you're just anticipating it the whole time. Then you go up the elevator and it's this long dark hallway to the infusion center. And that to me, like when I go back for my follow-ups, I'll still stare down that hallway and it just like it instantly brings back so many memories.
It's like a
And
portal, I'm sure, huh?
yeah, pretty much.
Teleports you back into that reality, I can only imagine.
I mean, the sights, the smells, the sounds, like everything, the brain, it remembers all that shit. And then you put yourself back in that environment. Suddenly, like I've gone into like full on panic attacks in that hallway because of it. But yeah, just again, like that halfway point, that's when I realized what real strength was and what being strong really means. It's not the size of your bicep or, how much you can deadlift. Those things are awesome. Real strength and real resilience and real I would say patience too. Like patience is a strength that it looking back, like it was only 6 months of treatment, but it was the longest 6 months of my life. Time was just at a standstill. And it just the perspective shift, it like almost immediately after was like, all right, there are things in life and priorities that I'm definitely shifting after this is done. While this is going on, like I already kind of started to make some changes even during treatment because I knew if I waited till it was all said and done, it would be way too overwhelming. So if there's anyone who might be going through chemo right now, I would highly recommend getting some ducks in a row right now while
Yeah,
you
man.
can.
Yeah, well, my dad just went through a bone marrow transfusion, and who was calling me and asking how he was doing all the time was this guy right here, and help help coach me through the experience of how to be a family member in that situation too. So, hey, that's a lot of what, we talk about your personal resilience, but as a collective, as a community, as a pack, it's been pretty awesome to see a lot of people step up and be genuinely supportive outside of what structure I can create. It's just
Yeah.
people really showing up for each other in life, and at times that are really hard. So, man, at some point, you're really just focusing on survival, right? Like we talked about that. You're like, the doctor's like, hey, you have to eat way more calories. And who cares if you gain weight? So, like, undoing all the things you worked so hard for before you got diagnosed, you're like, oh, I'm moving in the wrong fucking direction. Like, I've worked so hard to not be a fat ass, and look, the doctors are making me consume 5,000 calories a day or what other godly amount. But there was got to be some point where you're just like, hey, I'm beating this.
Yeah.
So there had to be like a moment where you're like, I'm not just surviving, I'm rebuilding, and I'm rebuilding something better, right? When did that happen?
I mean that was all like towards the end. Once I did start getting those ducks in a row and started to figure out what does life look like after this is done because yeah, I was seriously sitting there undoing all the fucking work that I did for the 4 years or well, no, just 3 years. It feels like such a long time, but really it wasn't. It was only a handful of years before that happened. But they told me like thank God you did that because had you been in the state that you were in previous, this would have been infinitely harder. But like, maybe it was fucking supposed to happen that way. I don't know. It was frustrating to know that like, I'm watching the scale go up every single day, but at the same time, they're telling me like what you're doing is good because your body will respond better to the treatment. The better you respond, the higher the chances are that this won't happen again. So just please stick with it. And I listened to them. I did everything they told me to do, and it all worked out. So
Yeah, man.
they call me their star patient. They even gave me a pin after I was
There you
done.
go.
I literally I took everything they told me to heart. Like any kind of dietary choice, any lifestyle choice like that they told me that would better my chances of conquering the disease. I'm like, all right, then I'm gonna do that. And I did some, searching of my own of some other stuff that like especially for neuropathy, I found that like really cold ice baths helped a lot with that. So I started doing that and they're like, yeah, right on. Like keep keep doing what you're doing. And I did try and remain active for a while. I couldn't go to a gym anymore just because of the germs. And like, if you had like the slightest cough around me, I'd end up in the hospital. It happened a few times during treatment. Like if you had a sniffle or if you sneezed, I was fucking done. I
Yeah,
had
on the other
no
side of the house.
Literally, dude.
Yeah.
Like there was no there was no just, "Oh yeah, I'll get over it." And then like at one point I even got COVID and I was just so sick of going to the hospital and I just kind of called my provider. I'm like, "Should I go in?" They're like, "Well, yeah, probably." And I'm like, "I think I'll just wait it out." My nurse practitioner instantly calls me back. She's like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, go in.
Yeah, I think my dad got one of those calls. So I know he's for a weekend of R&R, and they're like, hey, something came up in your blood work. You need to get back here
Right.
over here to the hospital. And then he's like, I'll be there in a couple hours. You're supposed to be like 5 minutes away down the road. So it's a huge shift, right? And like you said, your whole reality changes. You don't have the freedoms that you used to have, and that you've taken for granted in a lot of ways. And at some point you knew you were on the way out of this hole, and that you were going to not only survive, but you were going to take every chance you could to like become a stronger, more resilient version of you. I know when we first started the process, there was a lot of probably internal dynamics, like characters. Who am I, and am I the type of person who's going to be successful in this fitness journey? And I'm wondering, like getting cancer, it's like there's not really a bigger demon or dragon to slay. So I imagine that in some ways you're like, there's nothing left to be afraid of. But I also can see how being knocked on your ass and not being able to be physically active and like 6 months of life pausing, that there's a lot of stuff in your head. Like, did you have fears, and what fears did you have about restarting the fitness journey? And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, once the effects really started to take hold, I was like, this is not gonna go away overnight after that last chemo. Like, there's gonna be a lot of work that needed to be done, and I did do. But at the time, when some days the biggest thing I did all day was literally just get out of bed and maybe stretch a little bit, and then have no more energy left over, so go back to bed. Um, yeah, there was a time I'm like, in this very moment right now, I cannot picture what a healthy version of me even looks like or feels like. Like, I don't even, it had been so long at that point, I didn't even remember what it felt like to feel good. There was just not even a hint of that. I mean, like, some days were better than others, but you still just feel like shit all the time. And I was like, am I, like, especially with the neuropathy, dude, I was still trying to drum and keep that up throughout the whole thing, and eventually my fingers were just, and my hands in general, like, always had electricity shooting through them. Same with my feet. I still have issues with my feet to this day, which that can take 2 or 3 years to go away, so it's not necessarily permanent. But I just remember sitting there and I kept dropping my sticks over and over again. I'm like, am I ever going to be able to do fucking anything again, let alone, pick up a barbell, but like pick up these drumsticks that weigh all of, I don't even, they're really, like, they're very light compared to what you'd be lifting in the gym. So like the fact that I couldn't even hold on to those, I was like, am I ever going to be able to do anything that I was passionate about before this happened? But I had that little moment of, like, not really self-pity, but just allowing myself to feel those feelings and that were appropriate for the given situation. And then I just knew, like, okay, we're not going to go about the second fitness journey the way we did the first one. We're going to start extremely slow, slower than I think I should, and just literally not even give a fuck if the scale is going up or down or not changing, or, what do I look like in the mirror? I don't, whatever. Just going to keep doing something every day, not care about the results, and just trust that I did know enough about how to get healthy prior to getting sick, and like just trust those principles that I had learned over the last few years, and just trust that they were going to work, and literally go at a snail's pace. I mean, eventually momentum builds up, but yeah, the first few weeks or months even, like, it was really like just super lightweight, a lot of body weight work, and just really, really small changes, and then just building up habits over time.
I mean, a lot of people, they might not be recovering from cancer, but they might have never had a fitness lifestyle at all.
Yeah.
And, thankfully, you knew that you couldn't go back to the same mindset you started the challenges with. Like, I think you
Mhm.
started at 2 a days, then worked up to 3 to 4 days. So, and now you're like, hey, a quarter of a day, can I do, how about we just start with the mobility and see what happens, right?
Yep.
And, I just think that it's really important, man. What would you say someone that's just starting, whether they had walked through in your shoes or not, like
Mhm.
how would you encourage somebody who has to start that slow?
You're just gonna have to be okay with going slow. It's really tough. Do not get me wrong. It's frustrating. But if you allow yourself to just accept that it is gonna take a while, any sustainable result is going to take time. And you'll just have to value that end result being way later than 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. It's gonna be, realistically, if you want to make sustainable, healthy changes, just picture yourself like a year from now,
Okay.
like a year, even a year and a half. Cause like it's taken me around a year and a half to really get to where I wanted to. and basically be in the best shape of my life. Um, it just,
Because chemo stopped a year and a half ago, about a year and 2 months ago, I think, right?
well, it was December of 23. So, and then, but dude, like even with that, like the chemo effects did not go away. You
No,
know, after that last one, it took about till like April or May before I really started to feel like a person again.
yeah, that's when you actually, that's what I think my frame of reference is around beginning of June is I think when you really were able to start the process,
Yes.
And so now we're talking about, yeah, a year and 4 months, maybe,
Yep.
June, July, August, September, we're here the first week of October and that slow process, a year and 4 months, before it was 3 years and you weren't coming off of what you were coming off. What kind of outcomes have you been able to realize this time around going that slow to start and letting momentum build? What are you proud of that you've accomplished these days?
Well, going that slow and not overloading my nervous system and my joints and my muscles, I've not really gotten injured. I used to get injured all the fucking time. And I know there's someone out there watching this who deals with injuries all the time. I have a really close friend who it just seems like he's always getting hurt. And no matter how many times I set a positive example of just going slow and backing off and less is more. He just continues to push it. I kind of gave up on, you know, giving unsolicited advice in that regard, but like so many people do it. I used to do it. I'm sure you did too at some point. Like everybody, we've all fucking been there. It's easy to want to chase the dragon, but like once you find, all right, this is my biggest piece of advice. Find joy in the boring. Find joy in the monotonous, in the littlest things. If you can find happiness or joy is a better word, in just doing the smallest thing and stacking those habits and getting legitimate enjoyment out of it and deciding to be happy. Oh, I get to do this boring thing. I literally get to because, year and a half ago, 2 years, I wasn't able to. I didn't have a choice to do that boring thing. So now when I have to do something that's boring, it's like, well, I'm alive and able to do it. Like that's the mindset shift. Like you don't necessarily have to be at like the lowest of the low to have that perspective. You can
Better that you
learn.
don't.
Yeah, way better that I would not recommend having to do that.
Well, then how about this? Well, why don't we pull it out to some measurables? Where are you at right now relative to performance? Let's say from strength wise. What are the lifts that you're doing right now relative to what you did before? And what are your favorite lifts? What do those numbers look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, just the other day I was doing the Strong and Mobile program and I was lifting with the hex bar doing the deadlifts. I was lifting over twice my body weight for 5 reps for all 5 rounds I mean, it was hard, but with ease. Like I made it look easy. Looking back at the video, it's like it doesn't really look like I'm struggling. So to be able to do that is just incredible to me. Like it's not any record-breaking number, but to me, getting down as lean as I have and be able to lift over twice that, I'm just super thankful for it.
Well, I mean, it's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like let's talk about lean. I don't know what your body fat percentage is. I don't think you do either, but I never saw shirtless pictures of Jason before, and now I see him all the time. You know, I think I see shirtless pictures of Jason performing on stage not too long ago. So, what was that like? Stepping into that body. Like, were you comfortable shirtless before? Because I never saw a picture of shirtless.
Kind of not the way I am now. For the first time in
I'm surprised you're wearing a shirt right now. What's that? Hey, what's the art you got on, by the way?
it's Black Sabbath album cover.
All right.
It's October in Minnesota and it's finally starting to get cold. Just the other day, like 2 days ago, it was 90 degrees. Today it's 60. So it's time to bust out the sweatshirts. Yeah, I mean, this summer has been great because I am comfortable in my own skin for the first time in a long time. And it's never necessarily been like, oh, what's everybody going to think about me if I have my shirt off? Because guess what? Nobody fucking cares. Nobody gives a shit.
They're worried about themselves.
Right. Everyone's too wrapped up in themselves to care. So it was never really about that. It was my own self-image. And there's probably, there's some days you hold on to more water and you're like, ugh, don't look like I did the other day, but it's like it doesn't matter. It's fluctuations of it's just part of being alive. But yeah, that I would say that's a milestone. To be on stage with no shirt, no way would I have done that before. There was no way.
Well, I've been here with you. I get to watch and observe. And I'd say, like, it must feel fucking amazing to be on stage and perform in that way in your own skin, like completely comfortable. Have you seen improvements in your performance on stage?
Well, yeah, big time. We've only done 2 shows back so far, but that first show back at the beginning, it was a month ago now. I wasn't even nervous before going on stage. My bandmates were, but I was completely at peace. I was like, hey, this ain't my first fucking rodeo. I've traveled all around the world doing this. I've played, really big venues, really small venues, played in like a barn. I literally have done so much leading up to that point. Beat cancer, got my health back in order. So I was like, this is nothing to just walk back out on stage and like that feeling of like we were saying, like just being comfortable being me on stage was so freeing. And then at the very end, we walked off stage, and all of a sudden, through the door, I just hear everybody calling out my name. The entire venue packed front to back. The venue was too small. We oversold it. Everyone was chanting my name, and I got to come back out and throw the fists up and like kind of have my moment of glory. And my family got to be there to see that. And my brother and my mom, of course, was in tears because of it, and she just thought it was so sweet. But and it made my bandmates cry too, and I started to, but I was like, oh, no, I'm on stage. I'm still in work mode. There's still things that need to be done, but once I got home, I was able to fully appreciate that moment. Is like everything leading up to that point, it just felt like it was all supposed to happen. The fitness journey and like even not being fit was like it's all crucial parts of that story, like being down and out, getting injured, getting sick all the time, then really getting sick, then building everything back, all leading up to our comeback show in our home state, and then everybody's chanting my name at the end. Like it's like a movie almost. It could not have been more perfect.
You know, Rogan says, be the hero of your own story, man. I'd say you definitely are that, and I think a lot of us have been here waiting for that to come full circle. And that show was within the last month, I think, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Just a month ago.
fuck yeah, man. I mean, as your coach and as somebody who's been here with you and been able to watch, I'd say, demonstration of self-leadership. We were here to talk about fitness and the fitness lifestyle, but it didn't just influence your fitness. It's not just your lift. It's not just you're comfortable with your shirt off. It's not even just being able to perform at a higher level, even though that was one of the things I'm sure you were afraid you wouldn't be able to do. That feeling that you talked
Yeah.
about is like, man, this is going to be a long time before I do this again. I don't think I'm going to be able to. And then I don't know when I'm going to be able to play because I can't even hold the fucking sticks,
Yeah.
to playing your fucking heart out, people chanting your name, pumping up the fist, full circle. But there was something else that happened through that I think is really important, and I think you really demonstrate self-leadership in a different way, because I've been able to hear you speak to about it, and I think it's just as meaningful, is that you've learned to become a student. You've learned to value learning,
Yeah.
not just about music, but I think it's even amplified your passion for learning music, it feels like. To learn all things to become the best version of you. And you've put so much time and energy into that. So I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate, like, how many freaking nutrition certifications have you completed already? And how many are you working on concurrently right now? I have no idea. One at a time is good, but like, I think you've been stacking them. I don't know. You're back to 4 days. I don't, something like,
Nope, still I'm just doing one course at a time, but I've gotten 5 done now. And a couple of them were shorter courses, like just kind of business essentials, and then one was a short course on reverse dieting. But these other ones are like fully comprehensive nutrition, like the most basic level, which I just completed there's a 3-part course that I'm taking right now. I just completed the first part, and like it's a lot of it is review of just like basic macros, energy balance and stuff like that. But by level 3, I'm going to learn how to read blood work. I mean, I kind of already know because I read my labs all the fucking time, but yeah, I've that is one really big part of my life now that as a result of getting sick, being thrust into the healthcare system, it ignited a passion and an interest for learning, for not necessarily even just health stuff, but just being ignited a curiosity in me. Like now I'm not so closed off. I'm really open to trying new things. Like I'll try anything once and I'll decide if it's not right or if it doesn't fit within my lifestyle or goals, but I'm way less closed off. I'm more open to learning and it's expanded my capacity for to be talking about self-leadership, to be a resource of information for just people around me. Like now I'm the guy that they're like, "Hey, what do you think about,
Mhm.
such and such?" And like, "Have you looked into this at all?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, like that's great. Now I'm that guy. Everyone's gonna come to me for advice." I used to have people I would go to all the time, and now I'm that guy. And you know what? I'm more than happy to do it.
It's funny. You would go to those people and then you wouldn't fucking listen to them. And now these people come to you and they won't listen to you. They're assholes.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what it is,
I remember, giving some advice that kind of just walk through, like fire you walk through, didn't get burned. You're like, no, I didn't even feel it.
bro. I'm so sorry.
I think one big part of coaching is and leadership is like I don't own your story. I can't even take your wins or yours. I'm just stoked to be here, part of the process in any way, shape, or form. Be
Yep.
able to watch the show, just like the people who showed up for that comeback show, man. But no matter what I put on the app and tell you to do, like you're the one that has to do it. You know,
Yeah.
and so I don't own the not outcome either. And to be honest, I think that's one of the things is like, in this day and age with coaching and everything else like that, people want to guarantee. You know what I'll guarantee is if you do the fucking work and you commit to the process, I'll be here and we'll figure it all out. But it's not going to happen in 6 weeks. And depending on where you're starting and where you want to go, it's probably not going to happen in 6 months. But that's probably the minimum time that we should be even considering starting a relationship. So that's my guarantee. I guess you coming out of a lot of all this stuff, you be able to speak to it. You know, there's a lot of resistance, right? Like I just love the commitment you made to continue learning, and that stuff adds up. So like I think this would be a good time to think like what do you have to go through in your mind? Like coaching is not cheap. Education is not cheap.
No.
It's not even just financial though. It's time, it's energy. And I think the other thing is the belief that you're that type of person who can, right? So
Yeah.
so like we talked about like lifting more, shirt off, learning to learn. What do you think is the most valuable stuff that, when we first started, what were let's just say this, like when we first started, were your goals that got you to start when you were hungover with the AirPods? What was the outcome that you wanted the most?
The outcome I wanted the most was just not to feel like shit all the time. And that, it was a small investment at the time, 25 bucks. I already had the weights at home. There was like almost no barrier to entry. But the thing is like, yeah, you are investing the time. That's where the real investment is. Financial is like, it costs money to invest into these things, but you're investing into yourself and the time you put in is infinitely more valuable. You cannot put a price on just investing in your own self and your own daily practice and things you do to ultimately what we're looking to do is to enhance or make just our daily lives better. Like it's not necessarily, you've said it before, like if the only thing you're getting out of the gym is like watching the weight go up and that's it, then you've missed the boat. You fucking missed the point, man.
You should make every other aspect of your life better if you have the right mindset and the approach, right? And ideally, the things that you learn to overcome in the gym are just a platform for a character development platform for you to understand you're the type of person who can overcome challenge and resistance. And ideally, you have a good mindset around that, good inner dialogue around that. That stuff might not that's where, having the right support system is really important, right? So, like, investing in coaching, investing in education. Do you look at that different these days than you did before?
Yeah, big time.
Before it was just a cost, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, totally. It was just like, yeah, that's kind of pricey. Like I was literally just looking at the price tag, but now being on the other side and getting a lot out of the coaching and the community and educating myself, there's so much more value I place on that now. And again, just being open and being curious and resilience is what we're all about. and I feel like I'm resilient to all things now.
The poster child of resilience, bro, just like the nurses said, you
Yeah.
know, come on, man. Well, I mean, so then we kind of hit on a lot of things, you know, I don't think I don't think what you got is what you thought you were buying, but hopefully in a good way when you started this journey. And so, talking about say the evolution. Oh, you were with me when we were at on it. Now we have the wolf pack. What's your favorite parts of what we have in our program? Is it the workout? Is it the mindset stuff? Is it I don't know. What is it? The community? Maybe any or all. I have no idea. You tell me. What's your favorite parts of the programs of the Wolfpack program and ecosystem and why?
I mean, first and foremost, the community is like one of the best. Like just seeing how contagious the mindset shift for everybody is. Like we've had some people come in that, they're just kind of dipping their toes in a little bit, like, oh, I have these things that I want to work on, but I either don't have time or don't know how to do it. And I just love being a part of something where we can all build that individual up
Hmm.
and make them believe like I am someone who can do this. I am resilient. I can put in the work. I can put in the time and invest in myself. And then that expands their capacity to help others. So it's a whole big network thing. And I think there's just something really beautiful about our community and unique. And I think it's even better than the one we had before. And of course, I love the workouts too. But yeah, I think the community is like by far. I just get so much energy from seeing people share their wins and even seeing people share stuff they're struggling with. I love that we have a space where people are comfortable doing that. Because I felt like the community before it was only people showing like, here's me at my best.
Mm.
Like here's what's sexy and like here we can admit when something's hard or when something sucks. Like that I just love that. I love that you are providing a resource for so many people to be safe or feel safe and express those feelings.
Man, that's the goal. To be honest, I think it was so wonderful. The place where we came, it was very inclusive and receptive, but a lot of the things, it's still a company, So like I
Yeah.
had to answer to people. We didn't have all the freedoms, Now it's just me putting stuff together. You guys tell me what you want. Oh, everybody says we don't have enough time. Oh, fuck that. We're going to do a 30 for 30 challenge. How about you just get off your ass for 30 minutes a day for 30 days? Because I'm willing to bet the whatever percentage of people that complete this, or even those that don't complete it the way that it was designed, but
Mhm.
are doing 300% more like movement, like frequency. If they only move twice a week, now they're doing 5 or 6 times a week. Even if they missed the day, I don't care. We just want to see improvement and remove the resistance. Like the resistance isn't real. It's not a time constraint. It's just everybody wants to do too much. Everybody wants to do a 4 a day to start
Correct.
a process that should be walking and mobility and maybe lifting something 5 times
And
for
then that's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
We just start there. That's probably highest ROI when you start,
Right.
and so, you guys guide me. You guys are the leaders of the community. I'm just a facilitator. And I just keep on asking you guys what it is you want and what it is you guys need. And then I try to figure it out. So, yeah, I just want to say, yeah, the community holds me accountable and the community is what inspires me to grow. And I think that's what you guys feel too.
Yeah, well, and I wanted to kind of touch back on just the challenge we're doing right now. Like that I feel like these challenges, especially something like a 30 for 30, where it's really low barrier to entry. Just something, some kind of movement every day for a half an hour. Everybody's got a fucking half hour. But when that was like an integral, you weren't on it anymore by the time that last challenge came around. But that was something that I used as a mechanism to get back on the right track. And I was like, all right, I may not be able to lift, my 25-pound steel club right now, but I can lift these 5-pound ones. So I'm going to do durability and then we'll revisit, heavier stuff later. But that was what kickstarted the journey and got me to be consistent. And, I was one of the winners and like, I had already won because I was getting my health back. So regardless of a prize or whatever, by participating in this 30 for 30 challenge, like you're already winning. Even if you just did it for a week, now you know you have something to compare. Like, oh, all right, last week when I was moving just a little bit every day, whether that be, with a heavy weight, body weight, or just working on mobility, now they have the perspective of that felt way better than going to work and then coming home and just sitting on the couch, zoning out in front of the TV.
I mean, we're 6 days in. I got some pictures of people checking in. Man, I'm really happy with how some people are evolving as they checked in like 4 days after they started, and you're already seeing the impact of some activity, some structure, some support. And it amazes me. I think this is one of the things is like I'm I get spoken to, people connect with me from the time that they valued, say, like the content that I produced with On It, or even before that, and the digital content before without the like a lot of people were buying those things and I didn't get to speak to them personally. And now in this community, it's a smaller community. It's designed to be more intimate. I'm the only person operating the business. So if you got a customer service issue, if you have a tech support issue, if you got you got questions about nutrition or movement or
You.
my haircut, whatever the case is. I don't know. I'm the only one answering. So it's just I feel so connected to everybody, and I'm really thankful for that. Now, one thing I'd ask is like, what do you think about the evolution of the content? Do you feel like it's different or the same? I'm not producing it with 5 cameras and 6 cameras like we were the On It productions with, sound, lighting, makeup. Yeah, we have makeup. See, hair. I didn't need hair. I didn't have much hair, but anyway, it's guerrilla style content. I've got one camera. I do wear a little mic so that it sounds clean, hopefully. But I try to get the stuff out for you guys, what you want and what you need fast. So, do you feel like the content's very familiar, different, or both?
I would say both. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that, those of us that did come from that other community, like there's a lot that is familiar and similar, but there's all these new concepts. And what I get the most out of is like, yes, those programs were and are awesome, but you couldn't necessarily contextualize a lot of them because they're a product made to go out to a very wide demographic of people.
Hmm.
Whereas within this community, like you said, we let you know what are our needs, where are we lacking? We would like to see this content. You go, okay, let me stay up for 18 hours every day in front of a computer and get a camera out and I'll go to work and I'll build a new course for you. Like it's seriously like we ask, you deliver, and then boom, there it is. It's like here's a whole library of shit you can do that tackles exactly what you asked for. So I think the specificity of the programming now versus what we had back then, like, you could weigh in and comment on someone's post, but now it's just infinitely better because we have an open dialogue with everybody. With the coaching calls, everybody gets to weigh in and check in on how they're doing. It's not just you reading comments and trying to make sure you read all of them, and it's such a better format than it was, and it serves people, I think, on a way more holistic level: nutrition, recovery, training, lifestyle in general, the sense of community.
The wolf pack mentality there, like even like level 2, I made those little badges, like gamified the community. Level 2, you're an emerging howl, right? It's like in this community, you're here to be seen and you're here to be heard. And like you don't miss the opportunity to have a vote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's the way you guys feel. And even like so, like we filmed all this stuff. It would take 6 months or a year before it was released.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and now it's like, oh, I'll just clip the ends, and if I slip up and say something silly or a dirty word, you guys just gotta put up with it, I guess. But beyond that, like hopefully you've also seen like I'll release a version of the beta version of a program, and then like you log in and like things changed. It got better because I asked you guys what you like. Oh, that was a little intense. That volume right there at the end of that set. By the time you get to a certain point, like, oh, I can fix that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy that. It's just ongoing. It's Kaizen, constant and continuous improvement, right? Iterative process. And hopefully we're just going to keep getting better individually as a community, and obviously also the product, the content, as well. So yeah, man, I mean, shoot, let's see here. I'm curious, as we kind of come full circle. I think we've talked about your story, we talked about that journey, we talked about the community, but like say somebody's like on the fence and they're like they know they're not getting where they want to go, but they also don't know who to believe, who to trust, who to invest in. Ultimately, I think you and I both know you're not investing in me, you're not investing in the wolf pack. There is an
Nope.
there's an investment to participate, but the investment is not in any of that, is really in ideally you, right? So what would you tell somebody who's kind of on the fence about that? Like how would you help them see see if it was the right place for them?
Well, in my experience, because I've been that person who's been on the fence and kind of picky choosy and half in, half out sometimes. Sometimes all the way in to the point where it's not good. But, like that investment in yourself, can't, you can't put a price on that necessarily. And like, if you are out there trying to figure out who to trust, who to believe, who actually is worth listening to, and what is worth investing your time and money in, a lot of those people that are kind of half in, half out, or unsure, and they've probably tried a whole host of things before they've ended up here. And the thing with that is, and Lane Norton says this all the time, is the magic you're looking for is the work you're avoiding. So if you can shift your mindset to realize it is going to be work, but the work can be fun. Like I said, find joy in the boring, tedious, monotonous things, and that's the biggest ROI, because as soon as you can find joy in those small things, and I think that the way the app is designed and the programs, like, it's not boring, it's not monotonous or tedious. Like, it's very interactive and very engaging, and you'll want to keep coming back to do it again the next day. Like, once I started using the app, I was excited. Like, hey, I get to check this off for the day. And like, oh, I can't wait for the mobility session tomorrow and to hit it hard again the day after that. Like, I was really looking forward to doing the work as a result of how the app is designed and how you input the programs in there.
Well, I think that's the key, right? Like, hey, guess what? Yes, I offer coaching, content, and community. You don't have to pay for the coaching if you don't want to. If you want access to the workouts and not just be part of a conversation about stuff you don't know what people are talking about, then you don't even have to you don't have to invest in the content if you want to. You just want to show up and talk about health and lifestyle in general. You
Sure.
could be part of the community. Join our Wolfpack Fit Collective Facebook group. I have a community off the Facebook group. Ideally, everybody will move there eventually. But right now, a lot of people are growing in the Facebook group. So that's okay. If that's easy for you, you don't even have to give me your email address. That's how free it is, right? But if you want access to all the workouts, you can make a nominal investment in the Wolfpack Fit app. It's $30 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm just staying up 18 hours. I don't know if you could tell, making stuff because y'all asked me, and you'll figure out if you bump up against resistance, you need more support, and I'll be here. If you want more access, you want more time, you want someone to help you troubleshoot, then you can invest in the coaching, or you could start there and you get all the other things too. So wherever you're at, we designed an ecosystem, or I should say, I designed an ecosystem for you to plug and play at the level you want to play. You know what I'm saying? Like, choose your own adventure. And then if you want the fastest, quickest, most reliable way to get to where you want to go, then and you're willing to make a financial investment, you're still going to take the same time and energy, actually less time and less energy probably, to get more outcomes. Then you can invest in coaching. That's my approach, right? So like, but guess what? You could come hang and be part of the Wolfpack for free.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering if who to trust, if you don't know this crazy guy with crazy hair hanging all over his face and everything is worth trusting, you can just come check it out and you figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? That's no resistance, no barrier to entry. We got you. You'll get all of Jason's favorite part is the community. You could get that right there. So then what, we could talk about all this process. What do you think is the key foundational habits, rituals, and mindset shifts that have supported you in the process of becoming the more resilient current version of you?
Oh, establishing non-negotiables. That's like the biggest thing. It's like there are things that I set in place to do every single day that are habits that I'm getting it done, and it doesn't matter what's going on. I will find a way to get it done. I will adapt it to whatever given situation. Like, we're about to leave for tour in a couple weeks, and well, less than that now, but I'm still gonna be putting in the work even overseas. So yeah, having those non-negotiables and things that you carve out time for, and you just have to communicate that to your family and friends, like this time from this time, I'm going to be investing in myself. I am not to be bothered unless it's an absolute emergency. Just leave me alone so I can fill up my cup so that after I'm done, I can fill up yours.
There you go. We talk about healthy boundaries. A lot of people within our community, that's a bigger challenge than some other people. And I think all of us, especially if you're a family man, your father, I have a 6-year-old. He doesn't really understand. Sometimes he's 6. He does understand, but up till now, you guys see me do the lives and community calls, and I'll bring my kid in. How do we fulfill those non-negotiables? Sometimes it takes creativity. Sometimes it takes flexibility. Sometimes it takes integration into like integrating other people into the mix so that you can fulfill two things at once. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard to get your family to participate. I'm guessing it's kind of hard to get your bandmates to participate. We'll see. Everybody comes back from tour and they're looking leaner, meaner, and playing harder than they were when they went off to tour. That's going to be a big measure of success, I'd say. So then how about this? Everything's come full circle. You're currently literally in the best shape of your life. You're
Hmm.
currently literally the most ready to perform ever. You're going to have the best tour you've ever had. And I think you probably have a different definition of what resilience means. And we hit on this before, what health meant or what strength meant. But what does resilience mean now? How would you define resilience in your words?
Yeah, well, resilience to me used to mean that you could endure. Well, I mean, it is endure, but like you can like push your way through something and force your way through it. That's now I have a completely different perspective on what the word resilience means. And kind of going back just prior to getting sick, the year I got sick, Shane had us set themes for our year, and resilience was the word I chose. It like all the way back then, it was already front of mind. Like I want to be a resilient person. And that was as a result of injury and various other things that had happened up until that point. Now resilience is like knowing when to be still, knowing when to take a freaking breather and back off and not just, pushing through something. There's a time and a place where that is appropriate and you might have to do it, but to do that your whole life, you're going to be burnt out most of the time. So being resilient is recognizing the value in recovery and decompression and downregulating your nervous system so you can show up better in those stressful situations, because we say it all the time, life's going to keep on lifing, man. You got to be ready for it. And yeah, to be resilient, literally, it means to be able to bounce back after some kind of event or even during an event, a stressful event of some sort. It just being able to take a step back, close your eyes, take a breather, critically think about things. That's what resilience means to me. Be like we talked about education, like being more educated has helped me navigate various situations better than I used to because I have more knowledge now and I'm more practical about things.
Bigger tool. Yeah, Batman with a better utility belt,
Yeah.
more tools. Just the what came to mind when you were just talking about that is imagine you have this vehicle, right? You have a car, but it's always empty. You're always like putting $1 of gas in it, but you get a call and somebody you love needs you to get 50 miles away, but you got 5 miles of gas. That's what life is like. That was what Jason lived like for a long time. And what he's telling you is, how about we always keep that tank at least half full? We can always answer the call. We can get pretty far. You know what I mean? Like, what use is that car? What use is the vehicle of your physical form if you're literally at 2% all the time, right?
Yeah,
How are you going to show up when someone really needs you?
exactly. Well, and touching on that point, the people that I've known throughout my life that seem to give the most and be there for the most people and always making time for somebody else, those are always the people running on fumes. Like they're not getting any sleep. They're working themselves into the ground. And like your gas tank analogy, like they got like, this much in the tank, and it's just not. I've just seen it spiral and not be sustainable, and it just affects their mood and overall quality of life is just bad when you just it is a choice. You're deciding to live that way. If you really want to be there for other people, like I said, you got to fill up your own cup first. That's the whole thing with investing in yourself. If you want to show up better for the world, for your loved ones, for your friends, invest in yourself then, because
Yeah.
that's the only way you're going to do it well.
Well, I think that's the lesson. If you're looking for a place that's going to support you in doing that, then join the pack. We're full of a community full of those people, all learning to fill their own cups better so that it can be of greater service and show up as better leaders in their families, organizations, and communities. Our community online, and the communities that they participate in outside of that as well. I think, you know, resilience isn't found, it's forged. When you lead yourself, you lead the pack, right? We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
And the reality is, man, you've embodied what we call self leadership through resilience, like literally the poster child. And your story reminds me and the pack what's possible when you choose to lead yourself first. So I just want to honor you and thank you for taking the time today, share more about your story. I hope it resonates with somebody or many other people out there who choose to come, not only participate, but contribute to what we're growing in the pack.
Right on, man. Thank you for letting me share. I've not ever shared that story in a public setting yet. So this is the first time.
Man, thank you for sharing. Wolfpack for life.
We'll pack for life, brother.